to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I'm excited to be in conversation with my next guest, the owner of Baltimore's finest listening room, An Die Musik. Please welcome Henry Wong. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rob. I deeply appreciate for your invitation, and I hope I would do your listeners justice for sharing my knowledge and my experience in running An Die Musik for the last 33 years.
I appreciate it, and it's, I had to have you on here. It was just like, I'm talking jazz, I'm talking venues, I'm talking music. I have to have you on here to get a bit of the story, and so I'm really privileged and excited to chat with you today, and it's going to be a good one. So to start off, I'd like to give that sort of introductory question. And I want to give you the space to share a bit about your background and maybe what was some of the music that you were listening to growing up?
Well, I was born in Hong Kong. So I came to United States when I was 16 by myself. I just came over to study on my own with my parents, just sent me over to the United States. So when I was 16, I finished my high school in a monastery boarding school in Midwest in Minnesota, and then I went to college and enrolled in study biology and did fairly well. And I went to Hopkins Medical School for the summertime to do student research, like an intern. And given the fact that I get to know some professors and then enjoy working, they enjoy my working with them. So they invite me to stay working with them after my college graduation. So I've been at Hopkins and do my primary research was in neurology. I do neurogenetics or in the part of the neurochemistry. So we do genetic diseases that was being affected by the central nervous system. Yeah. And I also spent a lot of time listening to music during the time I was doing the research. So in 1990, I opened An Die Musik with a bunch of friends that they are really music lovers. They actually know more music than I do. And they actually, we started An Die Musik. The name was named by me. It actually means to music. It's a German art song by Frank Schubert. It's a very old classic song. It's a poem. So I thought that the name is very appropriate for what we want to do about the music. So it's less commercial, it's more elegant, and actually represent, at that part of the culture of music was from Europe. And is part of it is influenced by German composers. So hence the name of An Die Musik was formed in 1990. So we started as a record store. Did very well. We're the first record store to let you listen to anything in the store before you purchase. And we kind of started the whole listening post so people can listen to any CDs before they buy. So it was very, very, effective and very popular among Baltimore residents. So An Die Musik was very popular with so many people come to our store listening to anything, sampling the music, and before they decided whether they want to buy it or not. And so we also started the whole recycling program in 1990. That means that we take all the CD packages out and we take it out and rewrap the CD, and then the cardboard package or the plastic blister pack, we took it to the recycling center and we recycle the things. So we kind of go for the beginning of very environmentally conscientious about for the society and what we do as a business. So our business model was a few different goals. First, we want to make sure that we serve the public well by letting them decide what they want to buy, just like they try the clothes on before they decide they want to buy it. And secondly, we decided that this packaging is a nuisance. Why don't we recycle them for you instead of you have to take it home and throw them into a trash can and just throw them into the landfill or the dumpster? So we do a couple of things that we think that is first, to promote music, and secondly, we can do something more for the environment. And thirdly, because of the way we do our music, we invite musicians to come to our store to do a in-store.
Yeah.
What that means that when they have a new record coming out, they want to come to An Die Musik to play a few songs of the new CD, to promote them, and let the public sit there and listen to it. So everybody has a upfront close view with the musicians, so they can actually get to be more personable to each other. So we've done all these things. Primarily we focus on people to people first.
Yeah.
Then we think about whether we're going to be successful in making lots of money, but that's primarily most of the retail stores at that time. They were doing is sell. We try to do the selling part of it, but we also do the part that we can get the people to relate each other. They can talk about it. The listening posts really encourage people to talk to each other when they're listening CDs. The customers were telling each other what they should listen to. So they create a group of friends, in the way that most of the businesses that you go in, you do your shopping and you leave. And An Die Musik is many ways that people stand around and talk to each other. And I think that it's very important because we become sharing as what we humans are supposed to do, being sharing. And 2002, we added the concert series because people stopped buying CDs. The beginning of the Apple, iPad and, iPods, so all that kind of things. So selling CDs become a difficult thing for us. So we moved from Towson into Mount Vernon. So the part of we are is called Historic Mount Vernon. One of the reasons we're there because we're a couple blocks away from Peabody Conservatory, which is the music school in Baltimore, and now is part of Johns Hopkins. And it's also part of the whole history of Baltimore, where the church, the Baltimore Free Library, the Ina Pratt Library was there. So we felt like that music should be part of a historic cultural place. Not necessarily we have to be in an entertainment district, but we are into a cultural district. And so we kind of put ourselves in the place that where the Basilica is across the street from us. We have the First Unitarian Church of Baltimore is kind of on the corner from us. So we try to tell people that you come to An Die Musik, you're going to see a lot of culture, a lot of historic buildings was there. So we don't have a lot of high rise. Actually, we don't have any high rise. And it's a wonderful little walking neighborhood. So An Die Musik was kind of like rebrand ourselves from being a big retail space in Towson to an intimate space in a historic row house.
Yeah.
So we now occupy the previous U.B. Blake Museum. And U.B. Blake, as to many people, Baltimoreans know that he was a very famous African-American jazz pianist in the turn of 1900s. And he also taught piano at Peabody Conservatory as one of the very earliest African-American musician to be a teacher there. So we decided that the city has relocated the U.B. Blake Museum to Howard Street. So we don't want to leave that building vacant, has nothing. So we continue the spirit of music, and we decided to more focus on jazz music because most of the jazz music in Baltimore or everywhere else is performed in bars, restaurants, nightclubs. It's more of an entertainment venue. People eat, drink, and be merry, which is perfectly okay. I have nothing against eating and drinking, but I thought that sometimes music is best sometimes to listen without all the other factors around it. Yeah. So you can listen to it. Just like listening to music is like going to a church to listen to a sermon.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very fulfilling and spiritually uplifted just to listening to the music by itself. And then after that, I could be very hungry and thirsty, that I want to maybe share a meal with friends and talk about how wonderful the concert experience that I just experienced. And I want people to do that, to celebrate afterwards. It's almost like you go to a church, you want to celebrate afterwards, to have something to eat, to have a feast.
Yeah.
But somehow, for the sake of making money, we like to put everything together. And so An Die Musik is always, in my mind, is no food. It's a listening experience. And because the way we do it, we allow a lot of younger musicians, students, to come and perform, so they can have a chance to have a place to perform with really good acoustics, and then the parents and the family can come to attend the concert without having to see people drinking whiskey or brandy or or daiquiris or anything like that sort. And we also keep the cost down for the patrons, because since we're not selling food and everything else, there's no reasons for them to spend any money besides buying the ticket.
Yeah, that's that's great, and I like that overview there of sort of like, sort of the transition from where you were at, and we're probably going to tap back into it a little bit, but definitely a lot of my questions have been answered thus far. So this is great, and I think the other sort of comparison that's there is, I've gone to, in terms of like the listening room and not having all of the other entertainment components. It reminds me of going to see like classical music, for sake of argument. If I'm going to see like BSO or something, there are certain rules to that, certain norms to that. And the focus of the whole experience is to consume the music, is to enjoy the music, not go out there and get your whiskey or your daiquiris and, have sort of that part of it. That's there, but really it's definitely a shift to, you're here to enjoy this music. There's an intermission that's coming and all of that stuff, and kind of breaking it up. But definitely the cultural preservation component is something that's very important to me. And as I have in the intro, An Die Musik is a listening room. That's the way that I look at it. It is a listening room.
Just like, just Rob, just the same, just to like, echoing to the Baltimore Symphony, is the same way that you go to, go to a theater to see a play, to see a play. You need to be focused. You need to listening to everything. It's by the time you start eating and drinking, you take away your attention. All these are kind of like, I learned that from medical school, that when you have lectures, everybody's very quiet, they're very serious, they take notes, they're listening very carefully. And I think that we have to respect the musicians. They give 100% or more than 100% of the time and effort to perform for us. And we should at least do the same for them. Nobody's talking, everybody's looking at them, paying attention to it. And then you want to talk to them afterwards and wish them everything and develop a friendship that way. And of course, by doing that, most of the business model will say that, well, that's terrible. I can make, extra $2,000 during the whole time. Yeah, there's a drawback for that. And I understand, and I'm willing to not to abandon the additional income, but just to make sure that the music is provided, that everybody can listen and being totally quiet and enjoy the whole evening or the afternoon, as that matters.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. So I want to step back a touch and ask you about that first time that you were exposed to like jazz music. I read that you first experienced jazz music in college.
I did. Yeah.
And what was the first song do you remember the first song or first record or artist? Like, set that stage for us.
Definitely, I was. They were playing Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond, Take 5. I mean, it was just never heard anything like that. The whole swing upbeat with the clarinet. And I don't even know what jazz is, and then till then I said, wow, that is very different, because listening to classical music or popular music is, it's a very different approach to everything. And with the jazz, is to me, it's very free form, and it's very creative in a way that musicians can take long, playtime. It's just like creating their own cadencer, their own style, and showcase their own musicianship, so they can just kind of like play 5 minutes of solo piano, 10 minutes of solo drums, 5 minutes of solo saxophone or trumpet. And it arouses people. And I also like jazz because the way it's set to be is intimate. Is it started to be small.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be in a big open field or a 2,000 seats auditorium, because when the beginning of jazz is all done by, like, in New Orleans, and some people's looking a little corner store, just sit around and play. And people just bring up a chair and listen to it. And it has nothing to do with the best acoustics or everything. Everybody just kind of like, it's, to me, it's American culture of social. It's like a social club. It's for people that don't need to have money, they can have their own social life. And so I always consider that jazz is, to me, is social driven. It's like people to get together in the neighborhoods, so they want to do something for themselves, and they take a broken instrument or kind of like untuned piano, and they can make great music out of that. And compared to classical music, everything has to be perfect pitch, everything. So it represented the powerful of American culture, and the powerful of the Black Americans. People don't give, it's sad to think that the Black Americans have no contribution to this country. Not everyone think that way, but there's plenty of America think that way. I find it that that's just so sad, so wrong, because of Black Americans. It really make Americans very respectable in the eyes of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
except us Americans sometimes don't think of it that way. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I appreciate that. And I think, like, being able to, because it was something that you said that I definitely want to comment on, that it's just this idea around, like, intimacy. It's like you're creating a vibe, you're creating a scene, all of that other stuff, strip it away. What is it about? It's about the music. It's about the people who are doing it. It's about that sort of fellowship, bringing people together. And I like how you described it. It doesn't have to be a 2,000, seater, like, concert hall or what have you. Like, I don't want the jazz, like, stadium tour. I don't want that. I kind of want something that feels intimate, that feels like true, and definitely is something that, musicianship, culture, it's a scene, and it's something that's been around as a culture, not purely just the music, but as a cultural component that's been around for a very long time. And maybe because of, the people that are attached to it or what have you, it's definitely a Black genre that it didn't get sort of that acknowledgement that it does, or that it should get here. Now, I think a lot of times in other countries, it's treated differently. And I know that there are venues such as yours that are pushing to really keep and preserve and just, like, make sure that scene, that culture, the music, the whole thing is healthy.
Well, the problem is, to order for that to happen, Rob, we need to cultivate and nurture the younger generations. And we, just like everything else, we're just doing not a great job in it. The younger culture are totally disconnect with the older culture. Mm-hmm. And everything has become, a pop culture. Pop culture, has its purpose because it's popular, but usually is short-lived. It's just like trendiness. Unfortunately, culture is not about trendy. Culture is history. Culture is knowledge. And even though you can use the word that a lot of people never like the word is discipline. People think, oh, discipline is terrible, but without discipline, then we don't have any directions.
Mm-hmm.
But in this sense, I think that we are not really doing a good job. And my generation, or maybe people younger than me, and we need to do more, because it's like this kind of music, jazz, blues, gospel, is not really going to survive, because
Mm-hmm.
given the fact that nobody's playing it. Our politicians, so-called our leaders, they don't know anything about music. I mean, the sad part is they carry a Bible, and then it's blasphemy, and then even carry a Bible and talk about religion. And it's sad. But we want to do An Die Musik. Our goal is to really preserve the jazz community, the culture, not the jazz community, the community in Baltimore, to
Mm-hmm.
make jazz accessible
Yeah.
to Baltimore. I mean, we're not trying to do all over the world, the country, but we want to do something just for Baltimore, to get to neighborhoods, to appreciate the younger people, don't have to go out, looking for something to do, instead getting themselves in trouble because they don't know how to express their feelings. I mean, it's something that if they realize that, wow, the sound of jazz music is so great, but my God, I have to take 10 hours every day to pick up the instrument and play, or I'm gonna have to you know you know express my frustrations on the drums. They don't have anyone to teach them or tell them the music can be very useful, can be very therapeutic to help them to do all these things. So I hope that An Die Musik is doing our part to make it accessible to the people in Baltimore. Of course, we get a lot of tourists coming to An Die Musik, to some of our concerts, because they saw our names on different magazines or different travel websites, not because we have the best martini or the fish fry. None of the above. But then it's just a place that is a very different type of listening experience.
Yeah.
You sit in a chair and you listen to music. And to a lot of these people, they feel like that, wow, I didn't realize I can spend the evening just as simple as that, to listen to music. Of course, now during the COVID, we know we are forced to do streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the first venue to do streaming in the whole country since 2020, March of 2020. We actually get the permission from the last Governor Hogan's office. So we convert An Die Musik from a listening room to a broadcasting center to broadcast local musicians to play jazz, so people can watch it, at home, on YouTube, on their television. And so, we have done 650 live streaming shows.
Wow.
And then we also, because of what we have done during the COVID, we support a lot of Baltimore musicians, so they get paid, because people watch them performing at An Die Musik. They can watch them at home, and then they bought a ticket, and then these musicians collecting the ticket money, and so they make a few dollars for themselves, and also keep themselves sanity, because they get to come out to perform at An Die and see some of their friends.
Yeah.
But now, of course, the world forget about what happened in the last 2 years.
So I definitely want to ask about that, because I noticed that sort of trajectory and going from even having the retail space into where you're at now, there's sort of this arc of the business practices have been innovative and forward thinking and adaptable, especially when you're talking about sort of the streaming component. Can you talk about like having that sort of like visionary and strategic approach to how you go about what you do?
Well, everything what I did, everything we started with a vision, and then we have to tweak every day as we move forward. And that's really why we are humans, because we should be able to adapt to see and forecast something in front of you that might have to change. What the interesting aspect of what everybody think that how can we be such a visionary? I said visionary is such a very glorified word to use. I like to use it as we are very realistic approach of everything. I don't really have lofty goals. I learned that from medicine is that you have to have a goal. And then in each step towards that goal, you have to look at, does it work? How much does it work? If it doesn't work, why are you doing it? If it does, if it doesn't work the way you want to work, will you learn anything out of it? So for what we do in promoting music, it's a test of patience and devotion or dedication in that matters. Yeah. You really have to, believe that it's not about you, it's about other people. You're doing it for the sake of other people, because that's how culture will continuously to preserve. If you do it for yourself, Rob, there's really nothing to worry about. I mean, it's that story will be ended very quickly. Yeah. You really have to do it because you do it for the sake of the culture, for the art form, and also by doing that you're preserving the humanities, everything involved in it. And it's a wonderful experience, because everybody should try to do something good for other people, because then you really learn. I mean, I can do everything for myself. I have many needs. Or if you have family, if you have children, you have many needs for them. But set aside thinking the needs for yourself and your family, thinking about set aside to focus on the needs for other people. Hey, maybe I don't need it today. I'll help you with it. Yeah. And then instead of just placing yourself as the primary benefactor for everything. And I think that that's part of the problem, that we doesn't really, not most of us don't learn the teaching of Jesus very well.
and I think like that's one of the reasons why like I do this and kind of embarked upon this, and it continually motivates a lot of what I'm doing or what I aspire to do here, and just kind of helping give folks that might not get that light shine on them to share their story, maybe in this capacity, and maybe doing an interview in a unique way. It's, like this is going to be, at least what the aspiration is, different from any interview that you have done in the past and will do in the future. You know what I mean? And that's what the goal is. Not always you're going to hit it, but that's what the goal is. That's what the aspiration is. And, I think a lot of folks will tell me, and I hear this, I'm going to start marking it down. People will tell me, this is my first podcast. This is my first podcast. And I'm like, wow, you've been making work for a long time. No one has ever asked you, what is the story behind that work? Some of your experiences, some of the ideas that go into the work. And it's often no one's ever really cared. No one's thought that I was an artist, or no one cared about how I was going about my work, or no one think that there's art in this area or culture to be discussed in this area. And, this is a project that takes up, a nice amount of time and energy and all of that stuff. And as I tell people, it's like, it's not for me. I'm invested in people doing well and having the opportunity to share. And if you wanted to get over here for sake of argument and say, look, I want to talk about cartoons for 30 minutes, I'm like, let's do it, Henry. Let's talk about cartoons for 30 minutes. But that's not what you wanted to do. You wanted to talk about this, and this is what we're doing. But that's pretty much the goal behind it. And, whenever there are things that are brought up, always look at it like, how do you monetize it? That's the thing. Or how are you going to keep entertaining people? I was like, that's not what I care about. What I care about is being able to continually do this until, I want to move to whatever the next thing is, and really being able to look at it and seeing what passes sort of the rubric, if you will, or the discernment that I have of who do I want to talk to, who's interesting. And, as I said earlier, I felt compelled that I needed to include an interview with you in this series, especially around jazz.
Well, thank you. I hope I talked in something about jazz besides.
No, absolutely, you did. So I do have this one last real question before I get to the rapid fire questions that you've been waiting with bated breath for. So this is the last question I'll ask in this vein of the real questions. Talk about a little bit of some of the considerations that are made when you're looking to act. You're looking at musicians that are going to play at An Die Musik. Like, talk about that. Like, is it anyone with a horn? Is it anyone that can play the sax? Or what sort of considerations are made?
We're very different. We basically let the musicians come and email me and ask for a date. An Die Musik, always in me, is a place for the communities, for you, not for me. It's for the musicians that they want to perform for themselves and to the public. So I kind of changed the table around, and so me coming to you. Well, I like you to play because you're famous. So I run the college students. Even high school students, they said that I'd like to do a concert for my family. And so we have a lot of college students that live in Baltimore. Some of them they enroll in college in Baltimore, like Towson or Peabody, or some of them, they go to different schools in Manhattan, perhaps, or New England or Berkeley, that they said that they want to come and do a concert, when they have the spring break. So my approach is, this is your venue. You tell me when you want to play. I would do the thing for you. So it's not the way I like to do it like everyone else is. I'm going to book you. You got to sell. You got famous, so people will definitely come to see you. We have done that, Rob. We have done it like 15 years ago. We have done a lot of shows. Given the fact that we started doing concert in 2002, we have done over 6,500 shows. So we do jazz, we do classical, we do hip hop. I have spoken words. We have tried everything. The reason is because the musicians, they come to An Die Musik, they visit this place, and they say that, I want to do a show here. I said, sounds good. Let's pick a date. So I want to work with them. So I want them to be seeing the whole picture, not just come in, bring the horn, play, collect the pay, and leave. I want them to feel like they are part of the presentation is themselves. They actually create it for them. And especially for the younger musicians, that they're students, this is the way I want them to learn, to get practical experience. I said, this is kind of like doing you going out to get training. And I don't want you to play in the bar, because then people are talking, in front of you, utterly disrespectful, but they don't care. They're not really coming here to see you, because they just happen to want to go to the bar and have a drink. And it happens that you're playing in front of them, so you play. So they can be talking, or they can be looking at the phone. But when you come to An Die Musik, every chairs are facing the stage. So then everybody has to look at the stage, and you have to look at everyone. So you're going to make enough eye contacts. So my approach to everything is almost like, this is like a school, like an education experience, and how we can preserve that and show respect to music. And I think that especially for jazz music, and all these years and always has been abused. And in many ways, it has been always a second class citizen compared to the classical music. So I just want to get people to say that, well, listen, the musicians had to start from somewhere. Of course, it's not going to be the Branford Marsalis, the Winter Marsalis, or the Ron Carter, but you can be someone as a wonderful bass player. He's 23 years old. You never know. Maybe 43 years old, he'd be very famous. And then I can say that kid played An Die Musik when he was 23. And you know what? To me, I felt that I have, we just part of our way that we were able to assist him. And I think that to me it's a sense of responsibility of a good Christian. And I think that it's a good responsibility to be a good American, to making sure that our culture, the jazz culture, will forever be preserved in a wholesome way, that to show respect to the music and the musicians that create that music, and to the public that want to really come to listen to music without having to worry about eating, drinking, spending money, and like, can I bring my son to the concert? Can I bring my son here? Can I bring my daughter here? Would they be appropriate for them to come to hear music? So all these things always comes to my mind when I decided how I start An Die Musik. I never start An Die Musik to be the point about that. Well, how much money can I make?
Well, thank you. That's great, and I love hearing that, and I can't wait to come through and listen to some music.
Well, please do. I know actually, if you're back in town on Thursday, we have Rudy Royston. It's a quintet. And Saturday night, we have Baltimore Jazz Alliance Conference with a 7 p.m. a jazz quintet show. Sunday, we have jazz shows with TK Blue. He's celebrating a wonderful jazz pianist that passed away. He will be in his 97th birthday.
Oh, wow.
In April. His name is Randy Weston. So our concerts tends to have a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah.
It's just like, why do you have to come? People feel like that. Oh, this is something that I need to, kind of like Reformation. It's time to go to church.
So let me let you. So we're at we're in the point of the rapid fire portion of the pod, because the real questions are done. We got all the real questions. So I got 4 rapid fire questions for you, and you know how it works. You listen to the pod. So here's the first one. What is your favorite color?
Favorite color? My favorite color is blue.
Okay. Let's see. What is your favorite day of the week? Like, which day of the week do you enjoy the most?
Oh, I guess Monday.
Okay, a Monday. Okay, I got it. What was the first jazz record you owned?
Miles Davis.
Okay. So this is the last one. This is the one I've been asking various people, and they've given me some funny answers. What is your favorite or most overused jazz related term? And I'll give you an example. A few people say, cats. We say cats way too much, man. These musician cats, man. What is your term that you hear a lot in sort of jazz conversations?
Well, it goes from ages. I would say the word cool. For the older cats, it's cool. The younger cats is like, the younger cats is they say different. They, what up? It's the lingo. Everybody is different.
That's really great. So that's pretty much it. You got off the hot seat. You got off the rapid fire questions really easy. You got off easy. That's good. Good. You were prepared.
No, I wasn't prepared. I just you know why I like blue? Because An Die Musik, the logo is blue.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So with that, one, I want to thank you a lot for coming onto this podcast and spending some time with me. And two, I want to invite and encourage you to tell the listeners where they can check out An Die Musik. Social media, website, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you for listening to Rob Lee's podcast. I'm very, honored to be invited to share my experience with everyone. An Die Musik is very easy to find. We are located on 409 North Charles Street, which is the historic Mount Vernon. And there's on Charles Street. It's not downtown. It's Midtown. Our website is easy. It's www.andiemusiklive.com. The only difficult thing for everyone is to spell the music. It's a German K, not the English C. and the DIE only pronounced the letter D has the German. The IE just disappears. So it actually has on. AN is on, DIE is pronounced has B, and MUSIK has music. So it's An Die Musik. So it is difficult. It's a mouthful, but other than that, it tells people that we are the place that is all about music and music only. So again, if anybody have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Email me at henry@andiemusic.com and come and visit us sometime and check us out, and you will have a wonderful experience. Thank you, Rob.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Henry Wong from An Die Musik for coming on to the podcast. And I'm Rob Lee saying that there's art and culture in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.